We're
Okay.
gonna have a lot of Arkansas fans that are gonna be tuning into Athletes Unlimited. Maybe this is their initial exposure because of Danielle Gibson, great career here at Arkansas, and then she goes into Athletes Unlimited. So kind of for fans that are tuning in for the first time, just explain to them a little bit what Athletes Unlimited is, how it kind of got started, and what kind of the idea of it is, because it's a little bit different than your normal sports league.
Yeah, it is different. Something we like to say at Athletes Unlimited is every moment counts. And that is because of our point system. So to think about where we started with softball. That was our very first sport. We launched in a pandemic. I don't think they expected that was going to happen. So in the fall of 2020, we had our very first softball season in Rosemont, Illinois. No fans, just on TV and being streamed. So the format of our league is to where in the championship season, which is the season in Rosemont, it's 5 weeks of really intense competition because it's packed into those 5 weeks. Every day they play 2 games in their series, and they'll play 30 games. Now, what really makes it different is technically there's no set teams. The teams change every single week. So once you climb to the top of the leaderboard, you become a captain. There's 4 captains in that championship season. During AUX, what we're playing right now, there's only 3 because of the smaller roster. And those champions will draft their own teams. So these players are really in control over their experience in the league, making decisions about the league. So they'll draft their team. Like this week, there'll be Team Ocasio or Team Everly or Team Chittister. And they'll put that team together. We'll have a couple days of practice, and then they'll take the field and they'll play 3 games. So how we've evolved is we started with softball, then volleyball in the winter. We've added lacrosse and a basketball season. But what makes AUX special that Danielle is playing in is this is our first chance at expansion. So just like a WNBA franchise, they would add another team in another city. This is just like that for us. So we've added AUX. It's 2 weeks of competition, so it's really jam-packed. They play 18 games within these 2 weeks. The roster's a little bit smaller, so there's only 3 teams, and it's intense. So this is really our first look as what does Athletes Unlimited look like when we grow within the sport, and AUX is it. So we're playing in San Diego for the next 2 weeks, and Danielle is, one of those athletes that is a part of this expansion and this inaugural season of AUX.
And so since there's no set teams, how is a champion determined? How do individual players, I guess you mentioned a leaderboard, move up said leaderboard?
Totally. So that leaderboard is based on a couple of things. One are individual points, which I feel like are easy for people to get because anything you do well in a game, you can pick up points for. So a single, a double, a triple, a home run, RBIs, stealing a base. And then for pitchers, they can pick up points for outs earned while they're throwing. You can also lose points. So don't commit errors, don't get caught stealing. So that's how you move up individually. You also get team points. So every inning that you win, you pick up points. And then you pick up points for the game. So it's really neat. When I'm in the dugout, I hear the athletes talking about like, we got to win this inning. Even though they might be trailing in the game, they're trying to pick up those points there. And the last way to pick up points is MVP points. So at the end of each game, all of the athletes and some members of our Unlimited Club, which is our really intense fan base, they vote for MVPs of the game, and the top 3 MVPs pick up points. So through those 3 ways, you move up the leaderboard, and who's ever at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the season is our champion and gets a bonus for becoming the champion, and there's bonuses based on where you place.
How cool is it to be part of a league that instead of, in other major pro sports, there's kind of like owners of leagues and they're based in a specific city. How cool is it to be part of a league that seems to be more player driven and kind of moves around?
It absolutely is. Yeah, there's no owners. The decisions are largely up to the players. So each sport has a PEC, it's their player executive committee, and they make decisions based on, where should our seasons be? What should our uniforms look like? What are initiatives that we're willing to take during the season and things that they want to focus on, all the way down to the rules. So it's really interesting being a part of a league, especially when we're having all these conversations about sports where who's in charge, who has the power, and trying to give some of that power back to the athletes. to be a part of a league since its inception that said, hey, this is about you all. So they're really large and in charge every part of the way, especially being a captain. That's a lot of responsibility to make a practice schedule, have to pick from your peers who you want to be on your team, make adjustments mid-game. So it's been really neat, and it's cool to see how the athletes have been challenged in that way.
So Danielle was drafted into this league. Does her being part of AUX make her part of the overall umbrella of Athletes Unlimited as well?
Yes. So Danielle Gibson was one of our 13 draftees at our softball college draft, which is really exciting to see these college players get the recognition they deserve. You know, they have these great careers. They should have those moments of being drafted to be a pro. So Danielle is signed with Athletes Unlimited, obviously for AUX, but also our championship season. So this won't be the last time you get to watch her as a pro this year. Our championship season is going to kick off in late July, and that's in Rosemont, Illinois, and she'll play in that too.
Okay. And speaking about Danielle, obviously she had like a great start to like in her first 2 games as a pro. Just from your interactions with either Danielle or players that have been playing with her, just kind of what have been your initial impressions? What have been the league's initial impressions of her?
Totally. You know, it's neat to see how rookies adjust coming to the league. Obviously, for players like Danielle, who had a great postseason, they've been seeing a lot of live pitching. But I still think it can be challenging to switching over to having no coach, no trainer, you know, kind of telling you what to do, and really having to go in there and be within yourself and make decisions in your at bats, in your adjustments. So she had a great day yesterday. It's not often that your first throw at bat is a hit. And then she played the doubleheader in the second game. Her first at bat was a double. So she had a really great day. You know, she started within the infield. So it's been really neat to see her and all of the rookies get this chance to shine. And she had a fantastic day yesterday. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, maybe what veteran kind of becomes her, maybe a mentor or someone who helps her out. Usually in the league, there's a lot of veterans that really take that seriously in pouring into the younger players, really with the goal in mind of showing them that, hey, this can be your career. You can make a life out of this. You don't have to retire, and investing in them to stay in the game.
Have you seen kind of maybe like a wide eye experience or just kind of like a taking in of the moment of she was playing college softball like 3 weeks ago and now she's a pro out in San Diego. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I know she's had a whirlwind of a couple days. I know once they arrive, they immediately have media day where she was being interviewed by our TV crew, our photographers, our social team. They were drafted, had 1 day of practice, and then they took the field. So I'm sure that she's probably feeling a little bit of that schedule of joining AUX and very quickly, you know, having to dive in head first. But just from the outside looking in, you know, seeing her in the dugout, that's usually where I hang out during games, like interacting with the other players, like cheering on her teammates, the way they cheer on her. I was wondering, was her nickname in college Gibby too? Because it seems that's what everybody's calling her. Okay. Yeah, so she seems like she's been doing great. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to catch up with her by the end of this first series.
And we talked about this earlier. This is the first season for Athletes Unlimited on ESPN. Just how big is that for the exposure?
Man, you know, as someone who has been a part of pro softball for a while now, that was a very surreal moment yesterday. Not only our first game being on ESPNU, but our second game being on ESPN, the main channel, no 2, no 3, ESPN, and kind of seeing the lead into our game being the coverage for the NBA finals and going straight into a pro softball game was so cool. I hope that this really creates some exposure for our athletes, for the sport of pro softball. It's special. You know, a lot of times what I hear from pro women's sports fans is we want to watch more and we want it to be easier to watch. And I don't think anything really gets easier than being able to turn on ESPN and the game is right there. And hopefully that attracts some new fans. You know, you think about in restaurants or in sports bars, ESPN is on, and how cool is it that maybe someone will become a fan because they saw Athletes Unlimited casually and then they become invested in pro softball. So it is a major milestone for the league. It's not just softball. So all of our AUX games, our entire lacrosse season, and that championship softball season in July and August will be on ESPN platforms. So it's a big summer for Athletes Unlimited.
That's awesome to hear. So for Razorback fans that are following Gibby and kind of start to become Athletes Unlimited fans in general, how can they kind of dive deeper into their fandom with Athletes Unlimited?
Totally. Our website is the best place that you can really dive into the things that I very lightly explained about the league at auprosports.com. That will explain to you the leaderboard, the stats, and especially the schedule. These games are packed in these next 2 weeks, so I don't want you to miss out on being able to watch her. And then our social media team is fantastic. They were posting her first hit yesterday. Some amazing photos of her in the field. I saw quite a few Razorback fans talking about how much they missed her swing, which was so cool to see. So definitely those are going to be two great places to really get to dive deeper into Athletes Unlimited and keep up with her throughout the season.
Awesome. Any questions that I didn't ask you that maybe would be important for fans to know, or maybe anything else that you'd like to add?
Let me think. Let me see if I missed anything. You helped me cover my bases. Sometimes when I have to talk about Athletes Unlimited, I'm like, this is such a massive thing. I don't know how
There's just a lot to cover.
There's a lot to cover. Yeah. I think the big thing that I would want fans to know about Athletes Unlimited is, if they're not familiar, is even though we have a leaderboard, which makes things unique, and Danielle may be, changing teams and being drafted to different teams every time, the competition is elite. And you become invested in the game very quickly because of our athletes. They buy into these teams in the short amount of time that they're together, and they buy into each other, and it makes for some really great softball. So if you loved watching her at Arkansas and in that program, you're going to love this too, because she's going to be challenged, and the athletes around her are really going to push her to be better playing at this professional level. And the competition is so great.